Okay. A message from the creative director on PVE and PvP. Hello, sleepers! I just wanted to write something that acknowledges and addresses the comments around the endgame of Dune Awakening while also providing some context for what we were attempting. So let me start by stating this unequivocally. We want PvE players to be able to play the endgame and have access to the content of the endgame. Our goal is not to force PvE players to interact with a PvP system that they may have no interest in. Okay, there's the foot forward. All right, so let's see what that means. No endgame. Okay, but no endgame plan survives first contact with the players. Mark Twain, probably. Good start. We still believe in the core concept of the deep desert, an endlessly renewing location that resets every week and creates an activity loop for great rewards. The tension of heading out there, head on a swivel, eyes peeled for foes as you enter the most dangerous part of the most dangerous planet in the universe. Our wish was that players would embrace this loop, forming guilds to work together to overcome the bleakness of the deep desert. But you bitches just keep complaining and didn't do any of it. No, I'm just kidding. But as the Stephen King says, wish in one hand, shit in the other, and see which one fills up first. Oh, that is basically what he said. On one of my hands is overflowing right now, and sadly not with wishes. You know, I have to admit, I really like how transparent this is. I mean, he's literally going, I had this really cool concept for the end game. You know, everything's there for it to work, but for it to work, the players need to do it, and the players aren't doing it. And I mean, technically he's right. If the players got together and formed, like, you know, factions and actually, like, the mechanics could support it, but they don't guide the player to it. So, but I mean, so, and let's keep going. Some areas of the deep desert will now be flagged as partial warfare, while the deepest parts of the deep desert will remain as they currently are, high reward, high risk areas. The reality is that players are reporting being cut out of the endgame due to the extremely competitive nature of the deep desert. Starting soon, some areas of the deep desert will now be flagged as partial warfare, PVE, where players will be able to explore testing stations and harvest T6 resources without the threat of conflict they may not want. It is important to note that the top tier of the game is balanced around guilds and groups, so people will still find it grindy if they plan to play solo. Good looking out. Landsraad control point shipwrecks in the largest spice fields in the region of the deep desert will, yes, good, exactly as it should be. Yep, that's exactly all the other stuff that's not basic building materials. Keep it PvP. The deepest parts of the deep desert will remain as they currently are, high reward, high risk. Yes. PvP itself has plenty of issues that need to be addressed. We're taking steps in that direction with our first changes to scout ornithopters. We addressed taking steps in the direction with our first changes to scout ornithopters. As Viljar stated in the AMA, these should be implemented in the game shortly. Scout ornithopters with rocket launchers attached will have their speed maneuverability reduced. Good. Rockets fired from scout ornithopters will have increased heat generation. Good. Thrusters will provide a max speed bonus regardless of wings, ensuring that thruster-equipped scouts will be the fastest vehicle in the game. Okay. And a new T5 infantry rocket launcher will be added to help improve the dynamics of vehicle ground combat. Now, I gotta say, if it turns out this is super strong, this would change the game completely. Like, what if it becomes more advantageous to get to the ground first and get your rocket launcher out instead of engage another scout? You know, like, this is interesting. This could lead to some many different or interesting PvP encounters, potentially. There are additional changes to mechanics like respawn timers, vehicle storage tools, hand scanners, and other mechanics that we see being abused in the deep desert. The intended dynamic of deep desert PvP in Dune Awakening is that unless you really mess up, you always have the option to retreat in good order with whatever you've managed to claim so far. If you're smart and vigilant, you never have to fight if you don't want to. If you run, you have to call a halt to whatever task you were pursuing. That should always be a choice. PvP should happen when both parties decide they want to fight over location. I love the idea of everything I'm reading here. Like this is a good direction to get it to. That is not how it is at all currently, but it's a good goal. I like it is the intended dynamic. So if they actually make this a reality, I mean, that would be incredible. Because that's like I put this in the same vein and actually have it be rewarding for each side of that equation. I put that in the same vein as making an MMO that properly caters to the casuals and hardcore at the same time. It's like one of those gaming philosophies that everyone chases and no one actually gets. Like it's one of those golden things that no one will ever attain. Yeah, a PvP system where even losers win, kind of, you know? Like that's wild. But hey, you know what? It's a great goal to work towards. All right, here we go. The deep desert becomes a place where people battle it out over specific objectives, unburied testing stations and shipwrecks, resource-focused islands, and of course, spice blows. Finally, the intended dynamic has always been combined arms. We have infantry and ground vehicles and air vehicles, and they're all supposed to have clear roles, clear strengths, and clear counters. Thopters will always be incredibly important for crossing the desert, but they shouldn't also be the dominant force in actual battles. We're planning to make more changes to the deep desert to accommodate ground battles and reinforce use of player builds. Awesome direction to go in. Good. I like it. Now let's talk briefly about the Landsraad. As a system, it is an activity driver that is designed to promote the conflict between the factions, internal politics between the guilds, while providing goal thresholds for individuals and groups to work towards getting personal rewards. And the Landsraad should be doing that for everyone who wants to participate in the Endgame, Elder Game. but be they PVEers or PvPer. Oh, I see. Okay. The Landsraad should be giving you things to do every day and every week. It's nothing new from a design perspective. We've seen daily, weekly quest systems in games for a long time. Our approach was to try and frame the system around the greater politics of the Dune universe by having players engage in activities to earn the votes of the various Landsraad houses. Let me acknowledge that as an activity driver, the activities it asks you to participate in are simplistic. A lot of item hand-ins and crafting requests. That's because the system is in the earliest launch iteration. Okay. The activities that the Landsraad asks you to do will become more varied as we flesh out the world with more content and activities. The Landsraad is an umbrella for all endgame activities. What form do those endgame's activities take? More dungeons with bosses that drop endgame loot, more contacts that require specific tasks to be undertaken, more specialized delivery tasks that include components that cannot be stockpiled. If we ever add raids to the game, there will be a task on the Landsraad to complete those raids. It is a framework that holds the endgame activities in place. Okay. And we will keep adding endgame activities and more PvE content to the game going forward, both free and paid content in the form of DLCs and expansions. We are addressing some key flaws in the Landsraad design. The inability to hand in items after a square is completed and the rapidity at which some squares are turned in. That's awesome. There were some players who were really wanting to participate in Landsraad, but the problem is there were other guilds that would set up bases right next to the turn-in, and the second a square would go active, they would turn in every single thing they could and basically monopolize that square for that week. They're directly addressing that here, which is, from the sounds of it, which is very cool. Stockpiling is currently rewarded, but that is not our intention for this system, and we will make some changes to address it as best we can. Landsraad Rewards is supposed to reflect the endgame tiers of progression. That includes the vendors which can be unlocked for an entire faction through participation. This is the intention. But once again, let me acknowledge that this isn't exactly in the right place. The Landsraad will be updated to provide micro rewards for solo small group players. Thanks for listening, everyone, and apologies for the confusion. Once a live game launches, it becomes a collaborative effort between the developers and the players to make something amazing. We appreciate your feedback on what we hope is the beginning of a long journey together. Bear with us. Our intention is to be clear and open in our communication and to make Dune Awakening a game that everyone can enjoy. I hope this helps. Joel. Dude, not only did that help, but I mean, that is about the best thing you could have done. Like, it's...
Is that applause?
That's most of what we're asking for. So, like, there's two steps to this. There's a breathe in and a breathe out. This is a fantastic breathe in. It is an excellent roadmap to some great fixes, some great insight on why some of the things are the way they are. All of a sudden, some systems that I thought were basic make a lot more sense because they're treating them more as framework foundations and actual systems. Like, this is all great communication. The breathe out is going to be how fast and how effective the changes they make are. But this is a fantastic first step. This is awesome. Like, this bodes very well for this project. The fact that they did this much in the amount of time that they did, and like, yeah. But again, not gonna get to it. We'll get excited when all these changes are in the game and it works. So it's gonna be interesting to see like how agile they can be with this, because it's gonna take some time. I mean, the Landsraad resets in what, 5 hours? Are they gonna try to get the PVE and stuff by then? That seems like a lot. So yeah, this is awesome, dude. This is awesome. This is, I mean, like, everything I personally asked for is pretty much in here. And we have the QOL patch coming next month too. So this is, yeah,